Welcome to Korea, specifically South Korea, here at the Yongan International Circuit for the 6th Korean Grand Prix, round 15 of the 2020 OC season. It's the 7th of 12 circuits to not feature on the revised 2020 F1 calendar. And the circuit that was built was intended to have a city built around it, but was scrapped due to a lack of funding. And also, even though we've got about 6-7 rounds left to go of this season, the Constructor Championship could be decided today. However, there needs to be a lot of luck involved for that to happen. But the lap record here set by Miglasgau last season with a 132.679, a circuit length of 5.615 kilometers, 55 laps. It will be 18 corners, a number of overtaking spots on this track. I said mainly turn 1 and also the long back straight heading into turn 3. Previous 5 winners here have included Alex Southgate in 2010, Florian Volker winning here for 2 years in a row in 2011 and 2012, Winner winning here in 2013, and of course Franco Lopez winning the race here last season. So the tyres we'll be using for this race will be the hard tyres, and so we're going to look at the practice results, and here they are on the screen. So it was Franco Lopez who was over half a second quicker than Gao in second, and Franco Gamba third, then Armakar fourth, Roque fifth, Roberto Gamba sixth, Chatfield, Willows, De Rosa, Byrne completing the top 10. That was the practice results, and now we are going to take a look at the starting grid for the Korean Grand Prix, and it was Armakar who took yet again another pole position. 3/10, almost 4/10 quicker than Franco Gamba alongside him. On row 2 we have Miglasgau third for Red Bull and Jake Galloway fourth for Renault. I mean, Gao was actually quite close to Franco Gamba as well, only a couple of thousand, about 20,000s in it. Renault and Joseph Willows on row 3 of the grid there, qualifying by Willows as well. Once again, Franco Lopez not having good qualifying, row 4 for him alongside Evan Byrne. On row 5 we have Roberto Gamba and Laura Chung for Ferrari. And look at that, only 4 thousandths separating them, so you couldn't really split them up. George Roque 11th for Racing Point, with Kurosaba De Rosa 12th for McLaren. Roque has already been confirmed at Red Bull for next season. Row 7 we have Chris Chatfield for AlphaTauri and Amelia Wilson, very good qualifying from her in 14th position. Jamie Griffiths, another good qualifying performance as well in 15th, with Andrea Federi in 16th. On row 9 of the grid we have the 2 Brazilians of Gabriel Gomez for Alfa Romeo and Dudu Kirby for Haas. Dudu Kirby is retiring at the end of the season. Daniel Fraser 19th for Haas, and David Cooper, a very poor qualifying from him, very unusual, in 20th position. And then on the last row of the grid we have Rosetta Martinez for Mana and Felix Sontag for Williams. And news for this week is that Joseph Willows will remain at McLaren for next season, which is not too surprising. He's had a good few races recently, considering the start of the season was very bad. And the Malaysian Grand Prix will return to the OC calendar to become the new round 16 for both 2020 and 2021. It was hoping that Buenos Aires would be there as well, but problems with that track means it's not going to happen now. But more importantly, we're going to have a wet race, a 52% chance of rain, and as we're on the grid right now you can see it is very wet out there. All the drivers on the wet tyres. Not quite enough for monsoons, but anyway, the 5 lights are now coming on for the Korean Grand Prix, and we are underway. And it looks like Kara's got a pretty good launch off the line. Gamba's alongside him, so they're heading up towards the first corner. And who is going to get the lead? Is it going to be Gamba? No, and Gao, I think, actually squeezing through. And Miglasgau is actually going to take the lead into turn 1, so from 3rd to 1st. What a start for Miglasgau. He takes the lead away from Car. And Gamba might be under pressure from Renault as well in 3rd. We've got a number of pit calls. There's obviously something has happened at the first corner. And so side by side for 3rd between Moichin and Gamba. And it looks like Gamba's going to lose the position to Moichin, or unless Gamba keeps ahead. But no, he might do it actually. Gamba will keep ahead. And as we look through the midfield, Chatfield's got damage. There's a Racing Point there with damage as well. And the Ferrari of Chung has been hit there. And I think it was by the Alfa Romeo, who is out of the race. I'm not sure who that is. And there's a McLaren involved. Rogue is involved as well. De Rossa's already out at turn 2. So something has happened to him right at the start. Willows has got damage. So a nightmare start to this race for McLaren. But a lot of chaos has happened on the first couple of corners here, so we need to have a look and find out what has happened. So Roke is missing his front wing. I don't think he's missing his rear, but 2 cars out already on the first lap, Gomez and De Rosa, and Gal already has got himself a gap out front as well of a second. So what a start that is for Miglasgau. But we need to see a replay of what happened, and here we go. So this is on board with Roke, who started down 11th. He got a pretty good start actually, just getting alongside Chung and managing to get past her, and it was alongside Roberta Gamba into the first corner. And oh dear, Roke unfortunately goes into the McLaren in front of him there. That was, I think, of De Rosa and Jamie Griffiths as well, goes into the AlphaTauri of Chris Chatfield, and this is the onboard from Chatfield as well. So poor old Chung there actually got a pretty bad launch at the end. So and that was why actually it was Chatfield who went into De Rossi who caused that, and then Griffiths was actually the one who caused that chaos at turn 3, causing Chung to go around. And this was Q-Pox from all of it. He actually went into Griffiths as well, but he managed to get through that quite easy. And this was Laura Chung, who somehow, despite getting hit, well, he got hit from behind, she got hit from behind, and then got hit, I think, about 4 times in the space of one corner, and somehow she's got away without a scratch. So she's a very, very lucky woman that she's still racing. And this was on board with Felix Sontag. This is following up behind Chris Chatfield. And, well, Chatfield is out of the race now. So he was missing a front and rear wing, but now he's missing a rear wheel. So Chatfield only has 3 wheels on his wagon, and his race is done as well. So what a chaotic start to this race. And meanwhile, Amelia Wilson, who has somehow, out of all this chaos, managed to get into 9th. But Griffiths is trying to make a move on the inside for P9. And but I think Griffiths is passing the yellow flags, because I could see the marshal waving the yellow flag there, because De Ross's car is still not clear. So I think that is going to be a slam dunk penalty for Griffiths. And there we go, 5 seconds for overtaking Wilson. And meanwhile, it's side by side between Wilson and Q-Poc, and there's another couple of cars trying to get involved as well. But Griffiths getting away as much as he can. Q-Poc, there's Federi, who's trying to make a move on the inside, but there's another yellow flag as well, so don't make the move. And Federi goes into the back there of Wilson and forces her wide. Now, I'm not sure if there'll be a penalty for overtaking under yellow flags in that instance. I think it may have just been after it, but Federi barges his way through past Wilson, and Wilson lost a few places in that as well. But we're seeing Sontag and Roke just coming out of the pits now as well. But wow, what a chaotic start. Again, we've only been 2 laps, and already these wet conditions are playing havoc with the drivers. So here we're looking on board with Federi. So there's the yellow flag marker out, and then he goes into the back of Wilson, who shoves him wide. And oh no, yes! Of course, I forgot, of course, because he passed Q-Poc as well. So Federi receives a 10-second time penalty for overtaking both Wilson and Q-Poc under waved yellows. I totally forgot about that. Meanwhile, Galloway trying to get on the inside of Gamba into turn 3. That was close. Moitin defending hard from Lopez, who almost gets hit by Roberto Gamba, who's battling with the Renault behind him of Evan Byrne. Now that could have gone hardly wrong. So I think actually Roberto Gamba made the move on the inside of Evan Byrne, actually, full position. So Roberto Gamba had made the move and just managed to get it stopped in time before going into the back of Franco Lopez there, and then that would have spiced up the standings again once again. So Lopez now right behind this Radomoician for P5, and meanwhile Federi goes past Griffiths into turn 1. Q-Poc trying to follow him through, but he can't do it yet as they're coming onto the straight. But Q-Poc can get into the slipstream of Griffiths and then overtake him on the inside, which he does so. And so he's going to go for it. Q-Poc is going to brake quite late into the corner, which he does, and goes past Griffiths into P10, although Griffiths might actually try and hold it around the outside line here, so Griffiths might actually hold 10th place here. He's not going to give it up without a fight. So now heading into turn 4, is Q-Poc going to go around the outside? I mean, the outside can be the better line in these wet conditions, but Griffiths, can he hold it, or can Q-Poc keep the get 10th place done? I think Griffiths might have held it. Yes, no, yes, and Griffiths just about no. I think Q-Poc has the exit off the corner, and he does finally get the move done. That was some great action there between Q-Poc and Griffiths, and they managed to also avoid contact as well. And again, very close to contact there, Griffiths and Q-Poc, but that was still clean, and Q-Poc managed to get a good run off the exit and make the move stick. And meanwhile, Dudu Kirby has got a problem, and he has got an engine failure, and Dudu Kirby, he just does not have the luck in his first and only season in the top tier, and he is not finding it very easy at all. It's just not gone his way. Very harsh to, of course, not get any points in Spa, just missing out by a number of corners to finish within 90% of the race distance. And so, unfortunately, it looks like he is not going to get any points here today. Meanwhile, Miguel Escau out front sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:48.0. That shows actually how slow the cars are in these wet conditions. But Kirby, obviously, I think you can just about tell the smoke coming from the car, aside from the spray there, so his race is done and dusted. So that is another retirement. That is going to be the 4th retirement of this race after lap 5. And I mean, this is a wet race, so you never know what could happen here. And we've had entertaining races. I mean, just remember when Alex Southgate won that race for Mercedes. It was quite, I mean, we hadn't seen anything like it before, so as Kirby, of course, goes across the line to complete the lap, but it won't matter because the engine has blown, so he will pull off the track somewhere, which is right here at the first corner, so his race is over. It is run on lap 5 of the Grand Prix, so he goes into the wall. The yellow flag, of course, will be out, so no overtaking into turn 1. And so his car now gets pushed away by the marshal coming out to clear it. And there is the confirmation. Meanwhile, I think like Rope maybe was trying to make a move there, as we're looking at the replay of Franco Lopez here behind Roland Moichin in the racing point. And Lopez makes a move down the inside. Good job there from him for P5. And meanwhile, George Roque overtaking the first corner, but there's a yellow flag there, and I think Roque is going to get a penalty. That's going to be 5 seconds on his resume. And Willows takes a very wide line into the first corner there. I don't know what on earth he was doing, but he just had no grip there, seemingly. And meanwhile, this is now, I think, Willows trying to pass Felix Sontag for 17th, and there's the confirmation of Roque getting the 5 seconds. And so Willows now himself goes past Sontag into turn 1. That is for 17th. At the moment, Gal, even though he has set the fast lap, he actually is only just clear of Carr. It's only about a second the gap. So Carr is keeping him company so far in this race. So Carr, I think, must be on exactly the same pace if he can keep up with him. Gamba in third, a few seconds off, but he's under pressure from Jake Galloway behind for third. Jake Galloway again having a great race. I mean, it makes you think if Galloway maybe even went for the Red Bull seat, if he could have even tried to get that. I mean, we still have one Red Bull seat, of course, yet to be confirmed. But I reckon, just think of if Galloway actually did go for Red Bull, I think he would have been in with a good shout of getting a seat there. But nonetheless, he'll be a Ferrari driver for next season. So very much look forward to seeing how that goes. Lopez at the moment is in P5 and he's a few seconds off Galloway. He's about 4 seconds, so he could easily close that gap. We'll see how well his tyres work out. And so we're looking at your race leader, Miguel Scal, the Hungarian, who is leading this race. Of course, he won in his home race in Hungary, and he was absolutely delighted to do so. And meanwhile, we're looking at Laura Chung battling with Amelia Wilson, and Chung is on the inside and makes the move stick past her fellow driver Wilson and up into P13. Chung also trying to make a recovery from getting bullied, you could say, it on the first corner. I mean, got hit by 4 cars and somehow her car still remained intact. Now, meanwhile, this is Ahmad Carr, who is closing up now behind Miguel Scal. The gap has been staying about 1 second, but this is as close as Carr has ever been since the start of this race. And Gal makes a mistake there. And Gal made a slight error coming into the corner there, you could see, with a little twitch of the steering wheel, and Carr tried to take advantage there, but he couldn't quite do it. But Gal needs to be careful here, because any slight mistake in Carr is going to be right on him. And he was there, but didn't have quite enough room to make a move into the corner. Meanwhile, Evan Byrne is coming in for a pit stop. We'll see if he can well, I imagine he'll still stay on the tyres he's on, really, because the sky still looks pretty grey. A pit call as well for Federi, and there was another pit call for someone lower down in the order I just saw. Puts another set of the wet tyres on. I mean, I wonder if we'll ever see more of the intermediate tyres if it actually gets slightly drier, because we haven't seen that very often. I don't even know the last time we see it. Well, I suppose this season anyway, because of course it has been mostly dry races, and we didn't see any intermediate tyres at Spa when it was wet. But meanwhile, Ahmad Carr once again right behind Miguel Scal for the lead of this race, so he's clearly at this point in time the quicker car. Franco Gamba is quite a few seconds away, down in third, but of course if these two trip over each other, he could have a good chance of this race. But so far, it's Gal who took the lead at the start and has not relinquished it. Carr all over the back of him. He's going to have to stick through him here, through this tight part of the circuit, through the middle part, and then wait until the front straight to then try and make the move. Willers, of course, as we saw, was in the pits for his first stop of the race as well. I'd say first stop, his first legitimate stop of the race, because he had that one early when he had damage on the first lap. So Carr now coming onto the straight. Is he quite close enough to Gal? You can just about see the spray, but he's not quite in the slipstream, heading up in towards the first corner. Williams, meanwhile, just comes out the pits now, but Carr is not quite close enough. Is he close enough coming on to the back straight here? As meanwhile, Williams comes out right in front of Frank Gabba, who will not appreciate that, because that could give Galloway a chance to make a move on the inside here, and Gabba, who's also himself going to try and unlap himself past Williams, which he does, but Galloway's got a good run in the slipstream. He's going to go for it on the inside as Galloway, who himself is pitting this lap. And Galloway, is he going to make the move stick? And the answer is no, he can't. So he has to stay behind Franco Gamba there. So that battle will probably will continue. And also Franco Gamba is pitting on this lap as well. So we could see a pit stop battle here between Galloway and Franco Gamba. So Lopez will be clear, of course, of this battle as well. As we look at Federi, who's in the pits for his first stop of the race. So looking through as... I was looking through what's going at Gamba and Galloway. So Galloway tried it there on Gamba, but was unable to make it stick. The gap up a little bit, up to nearly a second, but it will come down into the pit. So that will be very interesting to see how that goes. Carl once again as close as he's ever been to the back of Miguel Oscal here, as they're coming through the tight, twisty part of the circuit. Gap only 0.4 of a second, 4.13 if you want to be exact, judging by the sector time. As they're now coming towards the last few corners, and so as they're coming through, heading towards the last corner, which is a long right-hander, a fast one though, of course, so you can take it at full throttle. And Carr is pretty close behind. I think he's closer than he's been, so I think he could have a chance making a move into the first corner here. He's just about in the slipstream of Gal. This is definitely closer than he's ever been. Is it going to be enough? And note he's run out of straight, and now there is a corner, and so. Yeah, he can't make it stick there. And has he got a good enough run off the corner to try and make it a move into turn 3? As meanwhile, Gamba and Galloway are in the pits. And oh, hang on a second, because was Galloway ahead there? I don't know. Okay, no pressure. Anyway, Galloway is in, and so is Gamba. And who's going to come out in front? And it looks like Gamba does stay in front. I think I just messing with him there. So I think actually did Galloway pass him on track? I'm pretty sure he did. By the looks of it, and yeah, look at that. So Gamba went wide, coming through that right-hander there, and Galloway took full advantage and went past it. But then Gamba immediately jumped him back in the stops there. So Galloway had the position on a plate there, and has just given it back to Franco Gamba. So that battle will resume as Gamba comes out just behind David Kupok there in the AlphaTauri. Meanwhile, we're looking now at Amakar, who once again is on the back of Miguel Oscal, is still unable to make the move as we're looking at Franco Lopez, the other Mercedes, in third position at this moment in time. Quite a few seconds off the lead as we're looking at Evan Byrne, and oh, contact with Daniel Fraser. Byrne spins, and gets hit by Fraser, I think in almost a retaliation there, and Byrne, is he out? Fraser has got damage. He has got a damaged front wing, and I think Byrne might be out of the race there, so for about the 700th time this season, Evan Byrne and Daniel Fraser have come into contact with one another. I mean, if they wanted to contact each other a lot more, they could just use their phones. So we're seeing this again. So Byrne was behind Fraser on the inside, and see that goal? I mean, people try to make moves. It was just one of those things. I don't think you could really blame either driver for that. But Fraser obviously got hit by Byrne and didn't like that, and just almost ran right into the side of Byrne's car and has eliminated Evan Byrne from this race. So yeah, again, Byrne is going to be extremely unhappy at how that has just happened. And meanwhile, this is Amar Carr, who is trying to lap this Williams on the inside here. Oh, would you believe it? Oh, no way. And Amar Carr lapping the Williams has just taken himself out of this race. And now we're looking at Franco Lopez coming around and seeing all this damage here. And oh, he's hit. Oh, my word. I don't believe what I have just witnessed right here. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So Carr takes himself out trying to lap Felix Sontag, and Franco Lopez comes through and hits the wheel from whatever car it was, and has now taken himself out of this race. So incredibly, neither Mercedes are going to score points. And I mean, that's great news for Miguel Oscal. He's got almost an easy run out front now that these two have taken each other out. But oh my word. So Roberto Gamba right now is in second position for Ferrari. And of course, Roberto Gamba has not yet scored a podium in the OC. Could today be the ultimate day? Meanwhile, Daniel Fraser is in the pits as well for Haas obviously changing his front wing after that collision. And meanwhile, Roland Moichin is now in as well for Racing Point. And so we're going to see how quick his stop will be for him. Because Moichin has had a good start to this race and has generally had a good season. I mean, you can say if you just look at it in qualifying terms, actually Moichin has been a lot better than Roke in qualifying. But in races, it's different.
Just prepare yourself for the first
but so we're looking at Moichin obviously now having changed the tyres, still on the wets. And I don't think that stop was particularly quick. Meanwhile, David Kupok is temporarily up into third as Martinez has gone a bit wide there and I think allowed George Roke to go by. That is for 11th position there. So Martinez himself is going to be pitting in probably a lap or so's time. And so, as we now look at this battle still going on, as we're looking at Roke now on the back of Amelia Wilson, and this should be an easy overtake into the first corner. And yes, Roke now moves finally back up into the points, moves up into 10th. He's going fairly long on this stint, Roke, as Wilson backs off there through the corner. So at the moment, Roberto Gamba is in second position, and he's actually looking in a pretty good position. Kupok as well, incredibly in third. But for Roberto Gamba, who has not yet scored a podium in the OC, what a result this would be for him. And I mean, look at the gap actually out front as well, Gal to Roberto. It's 22 seconds. Quite a significant gap, you could say. Meanwhile, we're looking at Jake Galloway, who's on the back. Once again, on Franco Gamba, this battle reignites, having gone over the first half of the race. And Galloway, again, originally making the move after Gamba made a mistake, but then Gamba re-overtaking him in the pit stops. But Galloway is now right behind Franco Gamba. He's seemingly got more pace than he does. And so Galloway now looking to make a move on the inside into turn 1. And he is going to make it stick. So Galloway moves up to 4th position there. So good job there from Jake. But Franco Gamba just doesn't seemingly have the pace at this moment. And so hence why Jake Galloway was able to pass in there. So, as we're looking at David Kupok right now in 3rd. Meanwhile, we're looking now at Miklos Gau, who himself is coming into the pit. He's coming up to the Racing Point. This is of Roke, who of course is a lap down and is coming into the pits. And oh no! And Gal and Roke have incredibly collided in the pits. Oh my goodness me! And Roke is out, and Gal, I don't know if he's got damage or not, but he manages to get going the right way again, and I think he's missing his front wing. Yeah, so I think Gal did get damage from that. But oh my word, and that is a very, very lucky escape for Gal. I think this won't matter as such because he's got such a big lead over the rest. But although the team don't seem to be, his wing was definitely missing. So yeah, explain that one, I guess. But wow, that was. I mean, you can see that coming as well because he was lapping him, and then oh my word, and Amelia Wilson hits the wheel from Roke that was still remaining on the circuit. And Amelia Wilson is out of the race, and you really got to feel for her. She was having a solid race, and yeah, there was a wing that was fitted to Gal's car because it definitely was off. And we're looking at Daniel Fraser coming down the front straight here. There's still debris from Wilson's car, and Fraser gets damage as well. And wow, for Daniel, for Haas, it's just been a god awful season, and he gets damage as well from that. Well, I say from that, I say. But anyway, David Kupok is now in the pits. So Roberto Gamba actually, by the way, leading this race temporarily, of course, because he's pitting this lap. Gal now down to 2nd, and meanwhile, Jamie Griffiths is in the pits. But however, he is not. He's not got a problem, and he's not making his front wing. So this might be a tyre change. Well, I say it is a tyre change, of course, but I guess the other tyres didn't have any grip, so. Meanwhile, Laura Chung is in as well, and she had almost exactly the same fuel as Griffiths, so once again, tactical decisions being made here. And so Laura Chung now comes out of the pits, and yeah, I think Chung had a lot of fuel actually, so she might even be going to the end. As Roberto Gamba is going to be going into the pits, and of course he won't come out in the lead. Won't come out in the lead. Gal will take the lead, but I think actually the gap, because Gal's 50 seconds behind and Galloway's 13 seconds behind. This could actually be close for 2nd place, but even if he comes up behind, Roberto Gamba is a legitimate shout for a podium here. So we're looking at Joseph Willows, who's getting the blue flag sign. Fraser, of course, is in to change his wing yet again. So he's in, and of course so is Roberto Gamba, and here we go, Roberto Gamba is in, and he is not going to the end, he's going to make one more stop, but he has to wait actually for Fraser to come out of the pits, and that could affect him with regards to Galloway, and so that could be the chance for Galloway to stay ahead of Roberto Gamba, and so as we're seeing, I don't know if we'll see or not, and yep, and Gamba and Galloway are both by, so it's actually by quite a margin. I guess he would have still been behind Frank Gamba, I think, anyway, had he not been held up. But wow. But Roberto Gamba out in 4th position, so he's not on the podium, but he's got still a good chance to get the podium out of this race, if he can keep up the good pace he has had so far. Meanwhile, Jake Galloway is now in the pits, and you can see the sun is actually now starting to clear up a bit. So, I mean, obviously, there is a different... it's not just one set of tyres. Monsoon and, of course, the wet tyres. Those are the 2 different types of tyres. So Galloway changes, and compound is the same. So, it's interesting, obviously, with Chung and Griffiths, who pitted, even though they had plenty of fuel left. So, at the moment, Roberto Gamba, of course, now back into 3rd. He's got his cousin in front of him, as Griffiths goes very wide. And Griffiths, by the way, is going to the end of the race on those tyres. So another genius 1000 IQ strategy from the team yet again, of course. And yeah, Griffiths, who got his first points a couple of races ago, despite the fact the team put him on was it a 1-stop? I think it was a 1. Yeah, he got points in Spa, despite him being on a terrible strategy, because of course there wasn't many cars that finished. I think there was only 9 cars that finished, and he finished last. But he still got his first points of the season, so that he was happy with that. Anyway, but we're looking at Roberto Gamba at the moment in 3rd position on the podium. He's got Franco Gamba in front of him. I'm going to see if he can close up to Franco Gamba or not, because then that will show the power of these tyres. But at the moment, there's Griffiths in 8th position, who... Oh my word, Griffiths is just is all over the place. Got no grip in that car. The car is... just drifting about all over the place, and of course, well, he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to the end of the race, but if it does dry up, because I mean the rain is going to be a lot lighter at the end, and so if it does dry up at the end, then Griffiths will surely have to pit for the inters, or if it gets dry enough, of course, maybe even the dry tyres. But we'll see if that happens or not. I'm not sure if it will. I don't think it will, but it could be close. It will certainly dry up a bit, but I'm not sure if it will for wet tyres, but could be wrong. As Federi is now in the pits for Alfa Romeo for his stop, and so he's going to come into the pits, and I think Federi has kept himself, I think, out of trouble. I'm trying to think if he's been involved in any instances, but I don't think he has. And so Federi comes out. That's 5.8 second stop, so it's pretty decent. We'll remind you again that we're about the halfway point of this race, and there's only about 12 cars left in it. So once again, a wet race causes absolute chaos. So Griffiths now up in the 7th. Federi comes out in 8th position. So Joseph Willis at the moment in 10th position. The last car in the points, with the other 2 cars out of the points being Martinez and Fraser. But of course, we're looking at the Red Bull of Franco Gamba, who is coming into pits this lap. Nicholas Gall, meanwhile, who has set the fastest lap out front. And so now Franco Gamba is going to come in for his... I don't believe this will be his last stop of the race, I don't think. We'll see if he does need to go in, if he does pit again. He may have to, but we'll see. So anyway, Roberto Gamba now goes up into 2nd position, so he's now ahead of Franco Gamba, which he'll definitely be happy with. But will that happen at the end of the race? Will be a different story. And the answer is no, so Franco Gamba does not go to the end on this stint. He's going to be making one more stop before the end. So as we look at Nicholas Gall, who currently is cruising it out front, because he's got no Mercedes to deal with. Roberto Gamba is not really, I don't think, in contention for the win, as Gall is coming through at the moment, and he's up on this current lap, so he's certainly very fast, it seems. Meanwhile, Radomujin in 3rd position, who is going long on this stint as well, but is making another stop before the end. So meanwhile, as we're looking at Rosetta Martinez, and Martinez I think has got a problem, and yes, the car is on fire. That is certainly a problem. And so that is going to be another retirement, so we'll now have half the field out of this race, and Martins now pulls off to the side, so no points for him today. So yeah, that is now 11 cars still left in this race. And yeah, I mean, you got to feel with Martins as well, it has not been his season either. Was set by mechanical problems, and so he will retire on lap 31. He was outside the points. I'm not sure if he... I mean, well, I say he wasn't potentially with points. There's still obviously a chance he could have got points, because there's not many other cars that are still left racing, but he won't be getting anything from this one. So Fraser will now move up into 11th. So let's see if he can somehow get points out of this one. Meanwhile, we're looking at Federi, who's behind the suffering Jamie Griffiths, and I mean, Griffiths is going to really going to struggle to still be competitive on those tyres come the end of the race. Meanwhile, Miguel Scow up front, stretching his lead. It's now nearly a pit stop ahead of Roberto Gamera's second position. Meanwhile, this is Jake Galloway, who's caught up to the back of Moishin and is set to pass him for P3 here. He's on the inside, and he does make the overtake there, so good job there from Jake Galloway. And so we're looking now at Moishin, who gets a poor run through the corner, and now Willows unlaps himself. Always happens if you get a bad enough run off the first corner, but Moishin dropping down to P4. Galloway certainly having the pace in this stint, but see how far away he is from... I mean, he's so far away actually from Galloway, isn't he? Pit stop away. As now we're looking at Roberto Gamba, who is now in the pits for his final stop of the race. Jake Galloway will inherit second position for the time being. And so, I don't know if he'll drop quite to P4 Roberto Gamba, but we'll see. I mean, I say it's still clearing up. I mean, it looks to maybe gotten a bit more cloudy in this race as Roberto Gamba now comes out of the pits. And Galloway actually is in now, and so is Moichin actually. So, number of cars coming into the pits on this very same lap. And we're looking at Galloway now coming into his pit box, and Moichin just a little bit behind as well. So that was an important overtake that Galloway did on Moichin for that position.
Okay, no pressure.
So, and actually David Kupok is in as well. So a number of drivers all pitting on the same lap, it seems. All having very similar strategies. But we're looking at Kupok, who is now in. Changes all four tyres. And there we go. 5.8 seconds. And now Franco Gamba does come in for his final stop of the race just a lap later. And he's already way behind Roberto Gamba. He might even be, I think he'll be behind Galloway as well. And maybe even more, well, actually Moichin's actually a few more seconds away actually. So it looks like he might come out in about It'll come out in P4. Will Franco Gamba, so he's now out of the pits, and Galloway should be coming across the line right about now, I'd say, although this could be close, but no, Galloway has just gone by there, and there he goes, and so he does come out in P4, so he still has a chance of getting the podium, Franco Gamba, if he keeps up the pace, and which is a little bit behind as well. At the moment, Fraser in 11th position at this moment in time. Right now, Miguel Scal, your race leader, I think I just saw you, I think he's still got one more stop to go, but he's going to be way ahead of the rest of the field, even after he does pit, which is right now. So Gal's had it, I'd say he's had it pretty easy so far. I mean, he had pressure from the Mercedes, or certainly he had it from Car, but he withstood that pressure. And so, I mean, even though obviously this win will look easy in the first half of the race, it certainly wasn't. And of course, you still have to get the car around to the finish line as Willows gets lapped by Roberto Gamba, and he's pitting one final time down in 10th, and that's where he's probably going to stay because Fraser is so far last. But Gal comes out of the pits, pretty quick stop, and will still lead very comfortably. So Willows, as you can see, is pitting for one final time, and I don't think he's going to be able to get anything out of the race. I mean, the only thing he could get out of the race, of course, is maybe the fastest lap, because the track could still dry up towards the end, but it doesn't look like it though at the moment, because the clouds have come back over a bit again, so I think the track may have got got a little bit more wet, you think. But Willow's now in the pits for his final stop. and will come out. It will come in 10th and come out in 10th. So it will be a very stop. A very lonely stop, I should say. Excuse me. So look at the gap that Gal has got over Roberta Gamba. 51 seconds. Oh my word, that is ridiculous. That is. But yeah, I think you could say Gal's got this one in the bag, and he technically has. But of course, there is still 11 laps to go in this race, and you never know what could happen in the OC. But as we're looking at Andrea Federi, who is going to come in for one final stop. And so Federi is in, and we'll change all 4 tyres, and we'll go back out, and we'll see. I mean, I don't even know who has the fastest lap at this point, actually. I don't know if it's still Carr. Well, I don't think, it won't be Carr. I don't know if it's still Gow. You'd think it would be, really, considering the fact he's that far in front. I believe it is still Nicholas Gow who has the fastest lap. And I say it was 50 seconds, that was when he stopped. The gap down to 29, but still is pretty big. And meanwhile, Roberto Gamba, of course, is in a very comfortable P2, so it looks like he has that in the bag. So the strategy for him worked out very well indeed. Galloway as well, shout out to him, has had a good race as well. Federi did come out, of course, behind Jimmy Griffiths, but I would imagine. Oh, and there's been an incident on the track there. Willers has spun. They look to be making contact with Rella Moitian, and yes, it was. And don't really know what Willers was even trying there. I guess he was so bored in that lonely 10th place of his that he wanted to have a battle. And fortunately, Moitian still goes around as normal, and Willers spins. Meanwhile, Daniel Fraser is in the pits for his final stop of the race. He is, of course, going to finish in plumb last, it looks like. That is, if he even gets to the end. Not been his day at all, and he's still going to miss out on points. It looks like that'll wait for the elusive points, although Fraser actually does, interestingly, change onto the intermediate tyres. So I suppose, you know what, because he's so far off the rest of the field, you know, why not? Why not take a gamble and see how that goes? So let's see if that makes any difference. I mean, there's 9 laps to go, so I suppose you never know what could happen, really. But he's now going to be lapped, it looks like, by Jamie Griffiths behind, who is obviously still going around on those same tyres that he was on for about 20 laps ago. And Nicholas Gow as well is coming up to this traffic as well, as Fraser going almost very slowly, and now Nicholas Gow is there and is going to lap both of these guys pretty quickly, as they're coming on past the support pits on the right there. And Gow is going to go past the Williams and Griffiths there, and now he's going to go past Fraser. So as he goes through, he's now right behind Fraser, who's going very slowly through these corners at this moment in time. And Gowner goes through past Fraser, pretty easily done. And oh my word! And wow, Jimmy Griffiths has just absolutely a pile driven into the side of Daniel Fraser there. So Griffiths spins, and he will have to pit. So in a way, that's a blessed relief, because he'll actually be on fast tyres. And well, he now loses his front wing as Chung goes into it, and yet somehow she's got away without damage. So Fraser also does rejoin in last position. But that was a very, very strange incident there between the two. So Griffiths certainly won't finish in 7th place now. Finish probably down in 9th, maybe even 10th. I don't know how far away that Willows is. But, I mean, somehow as well, Laura Chung gets away without damage as well. So Griffiths now back in the pits to change his front wing and finally change tyres, which he'll be pretty happy with, as I said, because he's been on those tyres for a long time. And so as the team now change the tyres and change his wing, and Griffiths will be mightily relieved. I mean, could he even maybe go for fastest lap? That would be pretty cool to see. But he comes out, looks like, in P9, so Willis is still way behind. And yep, he's still halfway down the circuit. Fraser's still trundling along at this moment in time, and I don't really think it's making much of a difference, because he's still being lapped at this point by, it looks like, Roberto Gamba, who's going to make a move on the inside. Oh my word, and there's contact. Oh, and Fraser's off, and he's out. And Roberto Gamba, I don't think he's got damage, so he just needs to rejoin now. And he's trying to do so, he's reversing, but Daniel Fraser isn't about to, so it didn't look like he was going to get any points anyway. But Roberto Gamba trying to get his way back going again, which he does, which is crucial, and he does manage to keep that second position there. But Roberto Gamma almost threw away the podium there, and I don't know what Fraser was doing. I think Fraser's this gamble for him has not worked, and then there was the contact with him and Roberto Gamma. So originally he hit the wall and lost his wing, and then got another bit of contact from Gamma, which then finished him off. But wow, that could have gone horribly wrong for Roberto Gamma there, but he keeps second place. But meanwhile, of course, we are now on the final lap of this race, and we are looking at your race leader, Miguel Scal, and it certainly will be a deserved win for him. And I suppose with this win, of course, and also with both Mercedes out of the race, I mean, this might sound a bit far-fetched, but he has a very, very, very slim chance of the title. I mean, he needs the Mercedes to continue having these non-points finishes in the next few races. But Gal could... I mean, he's got himself into, again, very slim title contention. You never know what could happen in the OC. I mean, but he needs to keep up this form and hope the Mercedes do screw up over each other again. But nonetheless, from this race anyway, he has deserved it, Gal, because he made the great start, overtook Gamma and Carr, and defended hard from Carr in the first stint. As meanwhile, actually, you could just see the dry line starting to appear on the circuit. So I was right, it does appear, but it's way too late now, because the race is just about over. Miguel Scal is going to take victory here in the Korean Grand Prix, and he is going to be very happy about that as well, as Miguel Scal comes around the final corner and wins the Korean Grand Prix, a dominant drive. And across the line he comes. As we're now going to look at the rest of the field coming through. So Andrea Federi set to come home in 7th position again. Had, I guess you could say, an okay race, kind of kept out of trouble, didn't really get involved in anything, and has managed to get to the end. Didn't like he had a lot of pace though, but nonetheless he'll still be pretty happy with a top 7 finish from this race. So as we look at Federi coming now across the line, and there we go, sets a personal best as well on the final lap. Meanwhile, Laura Chung, I mean, 8th position. She was involved in a number of incidents in this race, and yeah, I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, the fact that she didn't also have to make a pit stop despite being hit about 50 times this race, despite being hit and hitting other cars, she amazingly didn't have to pit for damage, I don't believe. So she's lucky to get away with that, but still 8th position, not particularly great for her. But Roberto Gamba, 2nd position for Ferrari and his first ever podium in the OC. Jake Galloway now comes across the line. He'll take 3rd position and complete the podium. Franco Campbell will come across the line in P4. He just misses out on the podium, gets beaten by his cousin as well. Jamie Griffiths will come across the line and will finish 9th, so that's more points on the board for him. He'll be happy about that one. Moichin P5, not particularly good from him. Joseph Willis is going to be the last finish of this race. Only 10 cars finished in this race. He comes across the line now in 10th, and now David Kupok in P6 as well. Again, kept himself out of trouble and managed to get to the end of the race. So there we go, that is race over. So we'll now take a look at the driver standings and constructor standings after Korea. So Miguel Scal winning ahead of Roberto Gamma in 2nd, Jake Galloway 3rd, Franco Gamma 4th, Roland Moichin 5th, David Kupok 6th, Fenderi stays 7th also despite his 10-second penalty, ahead of Chung in 8th, Griffiths with his 5 seconds, and then Joseph Willows in 10th position. Miguel Scal does set the fastest lap as well, gets that extra point, with the following drivers all not finishing this race: Daniel Fraser, Rosetta Martinez, Amelia Wilson, George Roque, Franco Lopez, Amar Carr, Evan Byrne, Felix Sontag, Dudu Kirby, Chris Chatfield, Gabriel Gomez, and Kirosa de Rosas. So that is once again a lot of retirement. So in Spa we had 9 finishes when it was wet, and here we had 10 finishes when it was wet. So that's all you need. Wet races to complete absolute chaos as well. So in the driver standings, Lopez still leading Carr by 35 points. Gao now gets onto the 200 point mark and only 32 points away from Carr in 2nd. Roque in 3rd, Franco Gamma in 4th, Franco Gamma in 5th, just 2 points behind with Moichin as well, only 7 points behind, and also Galloway only 2 points behind him, so a fantastic battle intrigue for the top 4 in the championship. Looking through the rest of the order, Federi in 12th there, Kupok, Willows, Chatfield, Gomez, Zontag, Wilson, Griffiths moving, staying in 90th but getting 2 more points on the board. Martinez, Judu Kirby and Daniel Fraser, so far the only drivers yet to score a point this season. So now we'll take a look at the constructors' standings. So Mercedes still have a comfortable lead over Red Bull in 2nd, Racing Point in 3rd, pretty much I think comfortable there. Renault in 4th, McLaren 5th, just 8 points ahead of Ferrari, AlphaTauri in 7th, 8 points ahead of Alfa Romeo, Williams in 9th, Manor in 10th, and Haas in 11th position. That is all those standings done and out of the way, and Roberto Gamba, no surprise, voted the driver of the day for getting his first ever podium in the OC. Very much deserved. So there we are. That was the Korean Grand Prix, a pretty entertaining race in the wet. As usual, I guess, races are always great. The next round will be the return of the Malaysian Grand Prix at Sepang. Don't forget to give the video a like. Don't forget to check out our links in the description, check out our Wikia, our Twitter, and join our Discord. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you for the next round in Malaysia. Goodbye.